According to the National Institutes of Health, approximately 23.5 million Americans live with an autoimmune disease.
Yeah, and according to the CDC, roughly 1.5 million Americans have lupus, and about 9 out of 10 diagnoses of lupus are women ages 15 to 44. Lupus is 3 times more common in black women than in white women.
And that's just one autoimmune disease out of the over 100. So what exactly are these diseases? How do they develop? And what about this pandemic? So here to answer those questions for you is Dr. Brooke Goldner, an autoimmune disease specialist and the founder of Goodbye Lupus. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Good morning.
So first, tell us about your background and what inspired you to explore autoimmune diseases.
Absolutely. So actually, long before I was ever a doctor, I was a patient myself. I was diagnosed with lupus when I was 16. And at the time, I had arthritis, I had rashes, and I had stage 4 kidney failure. And so at 16 years old, I was already taking high-dose steroids, 6 different kinds of pills in addition to that, and chemotherapy just to save my kidneys. So I have a long experience with being sick. And I was sick for 12 years, actually, through high school, through college, and even through medical school. I was battling lupus. I had mini strokes in medical school, almost died multiple times from the disease. And really, I thought that, okay, I know I'm going to become disabled at some point. I was told I could never have children, but I thought I could still live a life with passion and purpose by becoming a doctor. And so that was really my goal. I could be a doctor in a wheelchair. I could do something that mattered to the world and that mattered to me. And that's really what my plan was. And then when I was 28 years old, I was actually just starting my residency. I fell in love, and my now husband, he wanted to marry a sick woman. And he said, you know, he'd rather take care of me, even though I couldn't have kids and he knew I'd be disabled. He just wanted to take care of me, and he said he'd rather live a short life with me than a lifetime with anyone else. And so I was really excited, you know, because I'd always planned for the white coat, never the white dress, you know. But what happened was he's actually a best-selling author himself in metabolism and health, and he put me on a diet actually to help me lose weight for the wedding because I wanted to look fabulous. And what happened was my lupus went away. After 12 years of being sick, my lupus markers disappeared, my kidney function went back to normal, my blood clots disappeared, and that was almost 16 years ago now. And so when that happened to me, I changed everything. I started researching how does nutrition affect immunity and autoimmune disease, and what I discovered was it is extremely powerful. In fact, it's been more powerful than any medicine. And so for the past decade, I've been helping thousands of people all over the world get their health back the way I have. I am in my 40s now, and I am not disabled. I was actually on the cover of a fitness magazine at 40 instead of being in a wheelchair. And I've had 2 healthy sons. You can see them behind me. And I'm living my best life now, all because of what I learned. And so now I've dedicated my life to doing the same for others, letting them get their health back and their lives back by teaching them how to eat to support their best immune system and health, rather than relying on these medicines that really haven't made much difference in the suffering and outcomes that people experience with these illnesses.
So this journey is very personal to you.
Definitely.
Extremely.
Okay, so what exactly are autoimmune diseases and where do they come from?
So autoimmune diseases are really a process where you have this buildup of inflammation in your body, right? So inflammation is normal. You know, if you get an infection or if you bang your knee, I'm pretty clumsy, I do that, you get inflammation. And inflammation is how your body sends markers to that area to fix it, right? To help you fight it. But we can also get inflammation from other areas like stress or bad diets. And if inflammation starts building up too high, it can trigger our genes for illness. Now, those genes could be high blood pressure or heart disease, or it could be for autoimmune disease. In autoimmune disease, your immune system gets confused, and instead of just fighting viruses and bacteria and helping you when you get injured, it starts attacking the body itself. So it can, in lupus, it can attack the kidney, the lungs, the heart, the brain, as well as causing arthritis and rashes. But there's many other autoimmune diseases. MS, it attacks the nervous system. RA is primarily arthritis, but also brain fog and fatigue. So it can really affect any part of the body, but really when you get down to a cellular level, they're very much the same.
Oh, wow. So what are some of the common autoimmune diseases that primarily affect Black women, and what do those look like?
So as you mentioned, Black women have much higher rates of autoimmune disease. Most commonly what I see is rheumatoid arthritis and lupus. And, it's getting worse. I actually just helped a young Black woman with lupus who was 9. And it was really great. It was within only 4 weeks. She also had vitiligo, and she started to get repigment back in her face, and she's feeling much better. We're tracking her labs, but people are getting sicker and sicker, younger and younger, and we need to do better, because one of the primary things that's pushing that right now is how poor our diets have become. When I was a kid, having fast food or something might be a rare treat, but for many people, it's become something they do daily. And so we can do a lot to turn that around, but we have to take aggressive action, and we have to do it all together.
What are some great practices for immune compromised people to keep their symptoms at ease? You spoke already about nutrition, so can you further explain any other things that we can do, and also further explain about nutrition as well?
Absolutely. So, when you think about your body, it turns out our grandparents were right. I know my grandma said this, I don't know about yours, that, you are what you eat. Mm-hmm. Well, turns out it's true, unfortunately. And so, the way our cells in our body function, and we have trillions of cells, is they need nutrients, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, all these other things. And the way we get that is through what we eat. And if you're eating a diet that doesn't have vitamins and minerals and antioxidants and all those other phytonutrients, then you're actually going to be unhealthy. And where do those things come from? They come from plants. And most people hate this fact, mostly from vegetables. I saw you posted my Instagram picture where I said anything fruit can do, veggies do better. It's actually true. So all the stuff people push off their plate, like the broccoli and the kale and the spinach, those actually have the highest dose of all those vitamins and minerals and phytonutrients that we need. And so one of the ways I get people to do that is, you saw pictures of me with my smoothie, say shove the greens into the blender, add your favorite fruit for flavor, throw in a handful of flax or chia to get your inflammation down, put water in there, blend it, and just sip your way to better health while you're watching your favorite show.
Oh, that is really good advice.
I love that. I think I want to go make a smoothie once I get home.
And that smoothie that you had looked really good, that
Sure
green
did.
one.
Uh-huh.
All right, well, stay tuned. We're continuing this discussion with Dr. Goldner. You're watching Being a Woman.
We're joined back with Dr. Goldner. She's here to talk to us more about autoimmune diseases. Okay, so we've been seeing how the coronavirus really does damage to the lungs, and we also know how smoking affects some patients. So can you tell us how does smoking affect those with autoimmune diseases?
Well, smoking is already going to give you a predisposition to many more illnesses, not just autoimmune disease. Smoking raises your risk of heart attack, high blood pressure, and also autoimmune diseases as well. And it's going to really negatively impact your lungs. So when you smoke a lot, you actually paralyze the little hairs in your lungs called cilia that move things out to help you clear your lungs. So you can imagine if you get an infection like COVID and it's in your lungs and you can't clear it effectively, you're going to be at higher risk for ending up on that respirator. It's very dangerous.
Oh, wow. So have you had any immune compromised patients to contract COVID-19, and what does that look like?
I actually did recently. One of my recent clients who had lupus, who's been working with me, she is an emergency room doctor and also a Black woman. And she came to me with lupus and did my program and actually got her health back, went to work in the ER, and then she contracted COVID, and she's been pretty sick with it. And she told me she thinks if she hadn't done the program first, she might not have even gotten through it, but she's still suffering. I'm actually about to see her today to check in on how she's doing. But it is extremely difficult. Realize with autoimmune disease, there's two problems when it comes to an infection like this. Number one is if your immune system is too busy causing problems to your own body, then it's not available to fight infection. So people with autoimmune, even though their activity of their immune system is high, it's not high in the right way and they can get infections. The other problem is most of the medicines we use for autoimmune disease are also immunosuppressants. So they stop our immune system to be able to function. And that's why people with autoimmune disease are very vulnerable right now, because they're more likely to get infected because they can't fight it. And that's a big problem. Although I've been telling everybody that And it's not just people with autoimmune disease who are in danger right now. We're having really bad outcomes in people where their only risk factors are obesity and heart disease, like high blood pressure. So I think there's been a lot of focus on if you have autoimmune disease or if you're elderly, that you're going to be the one that's high risk. But what we've seen is very common things like obesity, high blood pressure, heart disease are really high risk factors for having a poor outcome with COVID. So we really all need to act as if we're high risk in order to protect ourselves.
I've been seeing doctors speak on that lately because, you know, we've been seeing a spike in cases amongst young people and they think they're healthy, but they're also suffering from obesity as well. So they are, you know, in the group who are vulnerable just as much as their grandparents or their parents.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I have a friend who is a high school teacher and she had 2 of her students die whose only risk factors were obesity.
That's interesting. And what are you telling your patients to keep them safe during the coronavirus pandemic, aside from, you know, the basics of washing their hands, wearing a mask and whatnot?
Well, there's a few things. So as I mentioned, that your immunity is affected by your nutrition, your stress. It's also affected by your sleep levels. And of course, you want to protect yourself. So one of the primary things I'm working with people on is, one, how to keep stress down. I know everybody's been stressing out. We are tired of dealing with this epidemic, right? We want to be done with Corona. It's not done with us yet, right? So I'm helping people try to figure out, how do I do my self-care if I can't go out and be social and do the things that I used to do? So, you know, this is the time to learn meditation or learn a new language that you always wanted to learn, or learn how to play an instrument you always hoped to do, to have some kind of social interaction with people, even if it's over Skype or Zoom, to get out in nature and do things to bring the stress down. Also, this is not the time to dive into a bottle of wine and a bag of chips and some Netflix, right? We've got make your green smoothie, have a big salad, get exercise, do whatever you can to keep your body as healthy as possible, just in case you do get exposed. You want to be in the best health of your life to be able to fight it off, not the worst health, because you've been treating it like you've been on vacation and been drinking your way through it, right? So we need to be really careful about that. You got to drink your water, eat your vegetables, get your exercise. It's a very, very important thing to do right now. And of course, protect yourself. You know, right now they've shown that wearing masks have over a 95% protection rate from getting this illness. And if just everybody would do that, we could contain this. You know, I heard you mentioning before about how there was almost an apartment fire, and it got me thinking about fires. And it's a great way to think about this illness, right? Because it's like, if there's a house that's on fire, if your house is far away from that house, you're not in danger. But if your house is next door, your house could catch the fire, right? A spark could go and catch the fire. So what do the firemen do? They show up and they spray your house down with water to protect it from the fire. And so if we think of the virus that way, that somebody who's sick, it's like they're on fire. And if you protect yourself with a mask, you can be protected from catching it. If nobody's wearing masks, that will spread, and soon the entire country is going to be on fire, which is kind of what we're experiencing now. So it's something that we can all do. I know it's a pain, nobody likes it, but simply wearing masks and doing distance, keeping distance from people, can get this under control so that we can get back to our normal lives much sooner and save the lives of people that we love.
Oh, such great advice. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Goldner.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
We'll be right back with more. Stay with us.